favorite Brazilians we've ever had in Six Esports. Let's get right into it, folks. It's going to be Ying removed first as we have Theme Park on the docket.
Dokkaebi going to be the first ban, or rather second ban to be knocked out here, as Stokes already mentioned. Ying and Dokkaebi making perfect sense. We've been seeing quite a bit of the Doke used just overall throughout the course of this tournament, especially for maps like this one on Theme Park, where you have that heavy extension deployed on essentially every single site. Great for locking down those players. Obviously no longer the case. First defender ban going to once again align with what we've been seeing so far at this tournament, as Mira is first in the pecking order here as Oxygen's final choice. W7M has the last ban, and they will choose to go in the direction of Mute, interestingly enough. Not really aligning, of course, as we've been seeing a lot of the Azami and Solus bans, but this time, both of them going to be left in play for map number 1.
We've seen some super interesting ones even past that with, like, you know, Bandit working his way in and some other things that people have been trying to remove from the defense of places like Club and places like Theme. So definitely fitting that theme, I would say. As for the offense, though, both of these teams actually removing both of our top offensive bans so far this tournament. So we have Ying and Dokkaebi both working their way in. Ying actually banned out 47% of the time so far this tournament, John. Pretty high stakes there for her. Haven't been seeing too much action, but obviously when she's in the pool, she's played extremely often. So won't have to be worried about her, though, here for Theme Park, as we're just now warming up the server. It's going to be Armory and Throne for our very first defense. It's going to be W7M to take the helm.
We're talking about the fact that Azami left out of the ban pool. That means KZ immediately going to go for the selection on here, especially for this first site choice. This barricade's going to help out tremendously for the late round fight here, as it will get tense once W7M is able to strike true at the beginning and make some massive impact against the initial map control bit that OXG will go for. No repicks for OXG, a very balanced lineup. You got one operator fulfilling one job for the most part, and of course the doubling down on the hard breaches. It'll be incredibly important for Oxygen to make sure they can open at least one of the 3 major walls to access the throne room down below.
Yes, indeed. And you can see Oxygen have lined themselves up to be able to work around the launching pad that they want to build. They have all that info game built up with Foxay and Newers via vertical to lock up a lot of the flank routes with those air jabs. The double hard breach setup for Dream as well as Sweater, just to make sure everybody feels a little bit more comfortable with their position. Nobody's going to get too harshly punished, or they can't open up a wall, which is so critical to a bomb site like this.
Already 30 seconds into the round, though. I'm already seeing Oxygen make their first few bids over the next few seconds here, such as the drum entry from Newers. Almost loses his life while attempting to do that, though, because of Herds' angle from up on top. Will block off rotations into the electrical closet with one of the Toxic Babes, so that'll lock Newers into Gong for the time being here. Forces him to back out, rethink his presence, as with that low HP, may not want to try and adventure forward this early on in the round.
Oxygen, they're going to play patient. Want to try and recognize what W7M are doing with Theme Park. Remember what the analyst desk said. Both of these teams not really playing this map routinely, so both of them going to have to give over that respect. A big swing there from KZ, but it's ill-advised.
Lots of pressure on the yellow wall coming in right now for the Oxygen roster, but at the same time, really only one player from Oxygen throwing that pressure out to begin with. Well, W7M have committed at least 2 of their own players, one of which is now dead, unfortunately, to the fight against that wall here. Lots of damage being traded onto the Oxygen members, but no full kill having transpired just yet. Half the round now gone, though, so W7M are at least bleeding out the time. I don't believe Oxygen is going to be too worried about this, as they are still on the right path to eventually get themselves into the site. Vertical trying to push himself forward, definitely aware of Herds' position on the inside of Cash to some extent, but he's got to be careful. Volp's to the other end of this towards control, also working towards a flank. It'll be a pinch if he's not aware of it pretty soon here. The battle out now, Vertical doesn't realize it. Elsewhere on the map, Julio will be able to knock out Newers. That damage he took earlier on in the round going to come back to strike him. Air jab down does prevent the push against Vertical. He's holding his ground quite nicely here, and in the meanwhile, Dream has the plant going down inside of Throne Room. Herds eventually gets the better of Vertical upstairs, but at the cost of the plant, now going on to the site.
Big kills here from Foxay into the 3 versus 3. They have the post-plant position here for Dream as well, but so many opportunities for W7M to try and wrap, especially from the Dragon position. Volps will take down Sweater. JV92 in from Slit. Big fight here, but Dream's better, and he'll take him out. Low HP for both W7M members. Up to Julio to try and clutch this out in the 1 versus 2. Hops on top of the box, gets one, can't find the other just yet, but he knows where Foxay is. He knows he has to be the back of Dragon inside of maintenance. They play off the angle. He has to go for the rotation. The Case still down. That timer dwindling. Julio, he won't be able to make it happen. It's going to be an Oxygen round all day for the first offense.
Good attempt from W7M to hold on to the defense. Problem is doubling down too much on the roam game, especially upstairs here. Nice kind of false signal being thrown out by the Oxygen roster as well with the way they put presence over towards yellow. I believe ultimately end up executing in through electrical when everything is said and done though. So W7M having shifted all their defensive presence over towards Armory instead cost them a denial on the plant when Dream is able to successfully plant it there. There's still a very tense post-plant scenario. Oxygen just barely having enough players set up for post-plants here to prevent the retake. And even then, W7M technically succeeds in the retake, just does not leave themselves with enough time to get the counter to fuse off. So Oxygen just barely squeaked by with round number 1.
Most definitely the case, especially for W7M. You really wish they could have just kept the smoke alive there for just a while longer. If they have that denial utility in play, that throne position not nearly as potent for Oxygen, but we saw how that went. It went the way of OXG. Now they're going to be ascending to the top floor for W7M's sake, as they'll be moving into bunk and daycare. Oxygen looking to try and assault this, but do they want to go through this via traditional means or potentially try and have a harebrained scheme? As of right now, we're going to have the Monty and play the Buck working its way in as well, and Alliant to try and lock up some of these positions. Frost, oh Frost, she'll work her way back in, our Canadian operator, with those welcome mats that have been the bane of every professional player's existence, it seems, at SI 2023.
Even in the final rounds of that series we were just watching with Astralis, we saw it come to bear there. Just an incredibly effective piece of utility when your attackers are otherwise distracted. Very simple, but very effective at the end of the day. And we're going to continue to see teams using it, of course, especially on a map like this where it really made its name about 2 years ago when we started seeing teams start to pick this operator up once again, bring her into the meta more.
Especially around the labs and storage position. What you see for that site, lots of window plays around there, and Frost the best in the business when it comes down to a position like that. Speaking of positions though, JV92 and a hot one as the Monty will be donning his doorstep. Looks to back up in towards office, have some reinforcements as well as rotations here to try and assist him. You see how W7M have set up this kind of dual-pronged defense here, try and worry about not only the office but also the initiation side of things, security. But this is what Monty is so good at, and just constantly walk these members back. And you see JV92 has to respect this. He's going to back up and seal up the wall, make it to where there's not really any other Oxygen member that can try and push themselves forward and assist with him, potentially get that big kill.
JV92 definitely wanted the fight if it was at all feasible. Unfortunately, just not the case, especially with that unfortunate choke point being in the way there. His teammates will now be able to group up with him. They'll wrap themselves into full office control. Dream, of course, completely unscathed from this position. Herd's just shooting back in hopes of catching another member of the Oxygen roster, trying to transition in and play with Dream from the office spot. No luck in that regard, however, so Oxygen continue to play mainly on intel at this point. They'll take a pause, not looking for a huge amount of map control. They'll look instead for their execute option. The first kill that they need to claim for themselves now, but it's not going to go that way. Sweater's dropped instead. That's the hard breach that goes with him. No backup. They do have secondary on Dream, but he's probably going to be too occupied throughout the rest of the round to use it, except for, of course, this can opener he goes for now to get them at least to the top of yellow.
This will be hopeful for Oxygen in their current position. Rocking a hard plays as W7M have set up all of their linebackers. Everybody prepared for this blitz from Oxygen. No real rush just yet. No handoff, no nothing. Oxygen looking to see if W7M will potentially give up the goods. See if they can find that frag that is pushing them back so hard so far. Foxay trying to be that new addition, but he's taken down. It's not even him, actually. It's Vertical. It gets blown sky high via the Nitro Cell. Oxygen finally with one off the back of Newers, but they have to get so much more done in this position. And Volp's already trying to shut it down here, trying to get the top of the Monty. He'll beat him away, and he'll shoot him down. It's up to Foxay now inside of Cafe. Trails one, goes for the swing, and it's all left up to the Wamai here. JV92, though, will be the one sealing this deal.
W7M just holding the line much more prominently that time, not giving Oxygen really an inch except for that office clear where JV92 was on his own, so he really had no choice but to back up and respect it, especially considering he had that extra shield, or wall rather, to put back up on the other side of the yellow rotate there. Good plays from W7M, not over-aggressing, not overextending to potentially, yeah, maybe they pick up a kill from it, but at the same time could have lost themselves. So the whole time they hold back, exercise restraint, and that allows for them to just bring this round down to a timing point where Oxygen has no choice but to throw themselves at that wall and unfortunately collapse in the process.
It was super hard fought, especially kind of that midpoint where we saw Sweater go for that swing on the Frost. Everybody's just trying to get that lead off pick, but you really want to see him try and do it with some, some gusto, some sauce to it, kind of like what we saw with Fox, that, kind of that patient play later on that rolled over with the Buck. So we can see some more of that, less active play on the front line where some major picks could happen, like what we just saw to Sweater. Maybe get some bigger rounds for them starting off early, but it's very, very early on inside of this series. Speaking of which,
losing the dedicated hard breach early on didn't really do them any favors either. More than likely wanted to try and open up one of the walls closer to initiation side, so they had a second angle to approach that site with. Obviously, once again, that player is the first to go down on that round, so it did limit their options to actually execute there as well.
Yeah, not lacking that hard breach is a huge thing too, because those secondary hard breaches don't make that big of a hole. You can jump through it, you can kind of crouch through it, but nothing you can be very quick with.
It wasn't even really like they could have the Monty with the secondary hard breach go between the two walls and try to open up a second one too. First of all, it would have been way too small of a breach to realistically work an entry from.
Exactly.
And secondly, it's the Monty, so he's kind of busy. At the end of the day, you can't really just pull him over across a big opening and commit himself to full utility clear there either. So either way, Oxygen going to quickly rehash things. We did a quick tech pause there, folks, so apologies for that. But we're already back in the game, so let's get into the round once again. See if it's going to be a rebound from Oxygen or the beginning of a streak from W7M.
Yeah, we'll see what Oxygen thinks about this. I don't think the Monty was the worst thing in the world. I just think that Sweater playing the position like he did was really the downfall of that round for them. They, as you said, really needed that hard breach, having those Selmas there to be able to assist them with some quick wall breaks. Definitely going to be a big boon for them if they can open up the back end of a site for W7M, so they just don't have nearly as many places to try and exist. See if that's is able to help them out with this round, as W7M have went back to one of the hard-fought sites of Theme Park. It's going to be Armory Throne.
Back downstairs to hopefully have some better results this time. Did not feel like they were going to be able to win it on an immediate retry, but now that they have found success in the upstairs dorms, things are looking a bit brighter to maybe hold it off on the second attempt. Oxygen giving it very much the same flair, though. I think the same exact lineup as round number 1 for their attack, so nothing going to be changing up. They feel it was a success, and indeed it was, so they'll be trying it the same way again. Late reinforcements coming down from W7M, but not of a huge risk. That's definitely a hatch you want to have locked down for your defense here. It gives Oxygen quite a bit of play capability into the site if you leave it soft right from the beginning of the round here. Herds already being spotted out by a drone, so going to be a little bit more hesitant to play this position over towards control. Norz is aware of that fact, so he'll also keep his eyes above him just in case Herds tries to go for any crazy top-down play here. Nothing really to be lined up at this point, but he's going to try to go for the nade play over the top of this one just to get rid of that electric claw. Unfortunately, it's in a bit of a trickier position to find. That's actually the batteries, yeah, from Bandit here. There we go. Second toss is a bit more successful. Will open up a clearing path now for Dream.
I think you got a little unfortunate with that first one, John. I think it bounced over the rail of the actual throne chair there. Ended up blowing up on the other side. A shrapnel. Quite RNG when it comes down to it, but very precise if it's laying on top of you, obviously.
And now we're going to see the strength of a zombie, of course, being demonstrated by Keys. Already has the additional cover being deployed towards Dragon Door, that box just to the left of the bomb chassis itself. And he can even recover the breach that had just been made, of course, by the attackers here. Lots of play capability, lots of time-wasting capability, more than anything that comes out of KZ, in addition to the fact that he's going to be much more well-prepared for a fight to come his way at some point in the next few seconds.
And that's why we've been seeing a lot of like Ashe and Zofia start to work their way in again, because people need those ranged soft breaches. My word, Hurts. Try and break up some of these locations. Impact out from Volps. They're trying to limit the hard breach of Dream. He's got the wall, I do believe. No more impacts. KZ, he's going to try and play this close to the chest. He's ready for the gunfight. Oxygen are down a man, so really need something to go their way. A positive light, but no, it's utter darkness as W7M take over. Quick trigger pull there from Oxygen, as he'll bounce back with 2, but still W7M making a grandstand, and mostly the Valkyrie of Volps getting a lot of done from the breach.
Norz and Vert still stacked up at top and bottom Dragon respectively. It's the same issue as the last round though, where W7M have just put up too stalwart of a defense, not giving up an inch on this line. The few trades have opened up a path in, but it's going to be dangerous at best, similarly to the last round. Norz already down, and the second player not going to last long either. Beautifully done once more here by the W7M roster, as now they take the lead 2-1 with 2 rounds in a row built up so far.
Fantastic job to W7M, a much more sound defense of the basement. Just a lot more bodies inside of Throne and Armory, first of all, respecting that Oxygen weren't going to go for the full top clear, so reinserting themselves down low, especially after some bigger pickups, was a great idea. Really like what we saw there, but also kind of the tell of the tape when it comes to Theme Park as well. This map currently sitting at a 60% defensive win rate overall. The Armory Throne Room at a 59%, everything actually above a 57%. Worst site being that 57%. Initiation room / office, actually. So everything a fantastic site when it comes to Theme Park. You're really expecting the defense to pick up some big rounds here. Even if it's a 5-1 split, that's almost expected.
It's going to be a very out-and-about setup for W7M this time. Expect very active in the face of Oxygen's play. They're going to have not only the Azami, but the Solus is also going to join the roster on this round as well. Volps is going to be playing that, so expect him once again to be at the forefront of the aggression from Oxygen, looking to directly counter it. So has that reverse IQ ability, spot out drones and attacker gadgets. That includes just attackers on their phones. So a huge amount of free intel constantly being fed over to that player makes them perfect to stand on the front lines of battle.
Well, Oxygen will be working the Monty back in, but it will be an attempt onto a different site. We'll still have to try and be attentive to this top floor, though. No breaching charges here, but they do have the Sledge of Foxay, so that'll be extremely useful in a position like this. Nuros will be back onto the Yana, his bread and butter op when it comes to this offense, and a bread and butter op for a lot of aggressive players when it comes to the offensive side of things. Speaking of offensive, Vertical, I think he's got a read and he doesn't realize it. Nitro Cell! Oh my! So worrisome, but GV92, he feels like taking a look at some daylight. He's gonna find himself a Newers.
Nicely shot by Norris. Clean kill from Oxygen. They've struggled to find that so far at the beginning of the previous 3 rounds. This will be a sigh of relief, more than likely to the entire team, that at least they have that locked down for themselves. Don't have to worry necessarily about that opening pick. They can take a few more risks when they're ready to move into the site. We've got at least one bunker still to clear out. We can see KZ deployed to the inside of it right now, taking himself directly into the fight also here. He'll lose a lot of HP, but he'll also trade quite a bit back onto Sweater. No one really the winner from that fight, so the defense gets it by default here. They're still wasting out plenty of time in the process of continuing to hold inside of Throne.
Solid motion from Oxygen so far. Big pickup on the JV92. Love the teamwork on the balcony. Making sure to maintain a multitude of angles. So difficult for JV92. Just has to guess right. Wasn't even aware of the potential for an Oxygen member to be there. Quick shots here from Herds. He's going to throw one of the kunai down, but the Monty's already moving in behind. He'll seal himself inside of Daycare. This is definitely going to be an interesting round now. Newers trying to solve it, but Herds, he's got the answer instead. He's the truth. He'll take down Newers, looking for the Monty, but he can't punch him through the wall. It's Dream instead. Sweater will pick it up. Vert with a mop of W7M. It's only KZ and Julio to try and slow this train down.
Once again, this is the benefit of them finding that opening kill and W7M just not being able to work a response. Unfortunate for Norris as he kind of sets up his own demise at the hands of Hertz from the other side of that soft breach. But his teammates there to immediately trade that back and maintain the overall player advantage and push it one step further by finding another kill elsewhere here. 35 seconds to go. Things are still going to be a little tense for Oxygen as they have not really made the full transition down as of yet here. You can see Julio still on the inside of Billiards, more than ready for a challenge, even as a castle barricade, blocking things off over towards the bathroom side. But he's got the intel. They've got some cams leading them into it. KZ already finding one. That leaves Dream off on an island on the inside of the bathroom. Oxygen may still yet lose this round here if they can't forge a path into the site. And right now, yeah, their Montaigne's found a way in, but where's the rest of the team? KZ has the cutoff. There's going to be another drop. Dream did have the case in hand, so the plant will start to go down, but Foxay, he's dropping HP as well. KZ with the jump out. He shuts one down, and the plant's denied also. W7M hold it in a 2v4 and claim the 4th round.
So much utility used on that top floor, John, but not a single person attentive to the base level where all of W7M still resides. Yeah, you might have cleared out the top floor, but are you worried about the angles around yellow? Are you worried about the potential for somebody to be inside of Throne? This is commonplace when it comes to labs, but Oxygen aren't aware.
Oxygen just not counting their time well enough. You're not expecting as aggressive of a setup from W7M, and so many obstacles on the interior of the site as well, tripped up by it after finally figuring out the early round. It seems like it was only one piece of the puzzle.
John, I think Julio's found himself. He's back on a Six Invitational stage. He's no longer the backdrop of W7M. He's not the man with a insane survival rate. He's the man taking lives. 5-0 right now. This is a man that in 2021 was able to lift a hammer with Ninjas in Pajamas before transferring over to this roster. Looking to do it again this year with yet another Brazilian squad. See if they can continue on this reign, but what a game so far from him through 5.
Already at a 1.25 KPR with that scoreline, and 0 deaths makes it all the more impressive. We'll see how much further he can push that envelope as we get deeper into the series. Sometimes we will see those players tend to fall off a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, is Oxygen once again going to try to change things up slightly? Overall, the lineup bringing a lot of similarities to previous rounds, but the OSA now being added in a different form of that shield play. Going to come out for Dream and the rest of Oxygen as they try to finally get a second round here towards the tail end of the half.
More aggressive front, and also that kit coming with a lot of potent pieces that you can pick up, whether it be the 5.56 AR or the PDW for primary weapon. You also still have some other cool things like some smoke grenades as well as secondary EMPs, even past her amazing shields that can be played from the offensive perspective for some of you that are fresher to Siege. Been changing up some things recently, or maybe you're just coming back to things. She is definitely quite the potent op due to those deployable shields. So we'll see how Dream tries to operate around those and assist Oxygen, especially with a site like this. You figure they try and set some things up, open up some longer lines of sight, wait for those mistakes via those OSA shields. And already got Newers in down low. He's going to occupy Lab for a time. See if he can try and cut off any of these rotations. But as we know, W7M mostly focused on this top floor.
Much quieter round overall for both teams, really. But that's going to start to change over the next few seconds. Volps actually ready to fling himself at the first bit of aggression from Oxygen, leaning itself towards Cafe right now. You can see that zombie barricade blocking things off and making it awkward for the push for Dream and anyone else that wants to work their way in through Cafe. And there'll be immediate resistance on the other side of that one. Dream already suffering, unfortunately, from this blockade as he tries to work himself in. It's lit up to a considerable amount, just under half of his damage gone already here, as Herds continues to actively stem the tide as well.
And this is where OSA can start to be an issue. Everybody paying attention to that position now. Oxygen could potentially try and rotate this around to some other stairwells. You know, the W7M do have eyes on. A nice hop out from Julio, and he'll pick it up. He's fully stunned, but does he get away? JV92 on the other end of things. He'll pick up one, but Oxygen, they're back in it. Around the OSA shield is Dream. It's a Dream play from him as well, making this a 3 versus 3. They're looking to pick up their second round on the offense. Be such a big ordeal if they were capable of doing so. You see the wrap coming around from Newers on yellow. Right around the corner is the Valkyrie. Him and KZ both been so dominant over this last year. KZ trying to line it up. He knows they have to try and work his angles. Right around the desk, but KZ shuts him down. Newers not ready. W7M all over this push from Oxygen. It's up to Dream to try and clutch this out in a 1 versus 3. First shot's in, he'll tag up Volps, but he's gunned down. Amazing plays here from W7M. Calm, cool, and collected.
Dream with the warning and all still can't shut it down, as once again W7M looking nearly unstoppable here. We're going to get the tactical timeout on this round from Oxygen. Very much needed at this point, as they're dropping rounds left and right. Even though they've seemingly made some progress back on round number 4, with obviously making things a little bit cleaner in the early rounds, still not able to control it in the late round, losing the 2v4, and then all that progress gone once again as W7M has a very one-sided hold here on round number 5.
A little conversation here from Redeemer. Sadly, we don't get to listen in like we did during group stage. But that's because we all have you lovely crowd here now. So a little difficult to listen when you guys are being rowdy and having so much fun. So hopefully Oxygen can try and fix some things up on this offensive side. Just a couple things getting lost in translation for them that W7M are able to exploit. A lot of these big picks coming early, and it makes it to where Oxygen really can't translate things in the way that they want to. They don't have the man advantage to try and go for big fights, and sometimes even when they do go past that and still go for it, W7M shoves them even deeper in their grave, making it nigh impossible to even try and pick up the round.
So the input from Oxygen's coach is going to make up the difference for the final round of the first half here now. Well, yes, this is generally tending to be a defender-sided map. Oxygen are still very far behind on that scoreline right now. Would want to try and control at least a 2-4, in my opinion, to make this winnable for them. Going into the second half, W7M sets up a 5-1. Oxygen are truly going to have to bring out the best defense possible in order to still make this map palatable for themselves. And it's even more important when you consider the fact that, obviously, check out the top right of the UI there. It's their own map pick. So this is one that they surely would want to try and control, as W7M is going to get that extra boost of confidence going on to their own for the second map after this one.
Yeah, this is getting terrifying, especially when you look at Border. Border is such a map. It's a map where it's just really, really up in the air when you go to it. There is so many different things that can happen. It's just like an unknown quantity sometimes, or you'll be so confident that one team is going to roll over practically anybody when they come to a map like Border, and it just won't be the case. So have to see how things break down there. W7M could just have the wheels fall off the wagon when we get to Border. Again, just really don't know. But so far on Theme Park, they have looked dynamic, diabolical at some moments. See if they can continue this. KZ on a tear so far here, 6-2-2. He's been showing his similar face to what we've seen in Jönköping inside of this series thus far. Newers as well as Sweater, though, on their side of things. Actually switching around some ops. Sweater's going to pick up the Yana, make it to where he can be a little bit more aggressive, won't be running those Selmas any longer. And Newers going to be on quite a sneaky op, but they're going to lose Foxe off rip here to Hertz. I don't know where that interaction went down.
KZ still looking to hold the line, but with the kill already in their pocket, not a real reason for him to stick around. Like I've been saying already, W7M, not a team that's willing to take risks necessarily. Ones that they need to, of course, to get the early advantage. Here we go.
Got him on the roof.
Nicely found on the inside of the control hatch there. That's where W7M claimed the opening kill. But once again, now that they have that, that's all the risks they need to take here. Just establish their presence, slow down the overall take speed from Oxygen, and back right up into the site, where they know things are going to be all right moving into the later portion of the round. They've got the advantage now, so they can hold back, let Oxygen make their own series of mistakes, potentially, to trip up the rest of their attack, and hopefully give another one over to W7M.
Well, Julio might have finally found his Achilles heel, John. This corner, dastardly to try and play. He's got all the ADSs and a shield here, but one proper frag grenade past that, and he's a world of hurt. KZ, speaking of which, he's getting lit up. Tries to work his way over through the bottom of yellow, take a lot of damage. Nades in now to try and get rid of this shield that's played around Julio, around the smoke. He'll be able to try and battle them back for a little while longer. Volp's also going to go down. Some awkward interactions in between these two, but it's going the way of Oxygen. Swear will take down KZ. Remember, Volps is still down, so this is technically a 3 versus 4.
W7M, their defense falling a little bit here as Julio tries to hold the line with the shotgun. Can only pick up one, though, but the good news is JV92 gets the confirmation off onto vertical as well here. Volp's still down, so that's still leaving us with only 2 players standing here for W7M. And the down player also on the site. The Nitro through, though. The intel's there, but it only gets the confirmation off onto his own teammate. Plant will now go down for Dream. Herds with the swing, though. It's going to make Dream think twice about this one. Still commits himself to it. Tries to immediately flee on himself, but he can't get the read on the Herds' position quickly enough. He retakes it instantly. Gets a 3rd kill on the round, and a 5th round overall for W7M on the half.
And this is what makes Theme Park so hard. The offensive side trying to pick up big rounds, but nothing doing for Oxygen. They cannot figure out this algorithm. Now it's 5-1 in favor of W7M. They only need 2 rounds on the offensive side. And this team, they have been so strong throughout this entire event on both sides of the coin. This is most definitely worrisome for OXG. Oh, what a shot.
Instant shot there, yeah, from JV. One and done. The definition of it right there. This Nitro as well. A little late on the intel, I do believe, or rather late to act on the intel, as we did have a member of Oxygen standing next to the corpse of that W7M member, but just unfortunately a little late to actually get the Nitro cell in there. They rotated away by the time it goes off, so they just have that awkward moment where they end up knocking out one of their own teammates. Doesn't even affect the outcome of the round ultimately either.
I mean, what a round. I mean, what a half, actually, we've seen from W7M here. Every single person across the board positive, and all of them bringing to bear exactly what they've wanted to state over this last year. They are here to lift a hammer. They are here to win a major. W7M taking it to Oxygen, but fortunately enough, we are on different sides now. Oxygen can try and slow down W7M as well. They now have all the tools to be able to do so, and it all starts with things like Capcan and some properly placed aggression. Let's see what Madhouse Oxygen can make out of Theme Park.
Yeah, a bit of a different take on things, of course. We even see the Frost used heavily by W7M, and I'm sure Oxygen will potentially pick it up at some point in this half as well, just feeling the Capcan a little bit better here for the potential throw and execute. When you consider the fact that it's oftentimes moved upon in low time scenarios. And that's where, much like the Frost mats, those Kapkan traps are going to have some pretty good effectiveness. This site specifically plays a lot more heavily into doorways, and that's obviously Kapkan's favorite spot to put those. So it was hand in hand quite well when you start to think about it like that.
Yes, indeed. W7M, not going to lose Herds to one of the Kapkan setups. He'll get down. I believe it was a Nitro cell. Nope, Sweater's the only one that has that, so it'll definitely be the EDDs that were placed inside of locker. So very well done there from Sweater. A little cheeky location, and speaking of which, he tries to go for the cheeky kill, John. He knew those EDDs went off. Potential for somebody to be outside, but JB92 is ready on the off angle as Sweater breaks that up. So unfortunately timed for Sweater there, and is going to give the big kill over to W7M that they needed for this onslaught.
W7M continue to find the exact kills they need to control the early round, just masterfully playing things out.
Already got the wall open too.
Yep. Wasting absolutely zero time after finding that kill. Knew there's really only going to be one or two players trying to resist things to the top of yellow because they already control the top of yellow, so they know there's not going to be any more resistance coming that way. One of their own teammates would need to die first before they could make it downstairs. Volp's forced into a fight. Newers will battle out from that position and continue to maintain top dragon. Keys elsewhere though, or KZ rather, will be able to still pick up another kill from the inside of control. That eliminates Vert, brings Oxygen's defense down to only 3 now, with Newers and Dream also being quite heavily injured, about half of their HP gone each.
Oh, Newers. Just a pixel of the thermite exposed. Julio jumps down. Feeling as though we might be able to find some influence here. What a shot from JB92. That angle, you can't even see it. Single sliver. And ends up taking down the Oxygen member. Speaking of which, Newers now with the rotation. Foxay still upstairs as well. They've completely evacuated the site, but this might be the moment. This might be the time. They're in behind W7M, and they have to try and fend them off. Rotating in, but now it's a 2 versus 2. Oxygen have got what they've wanted. Julio's going to start this plan up. Herds with the Overwatch, low on HP. Doesn't know the angles that Oxygen could try and abuse to get back into this. We go into the post plant. Foxay with some solid positioning, or at least where the case went down.
Oxygen find the trades, yes, but can they get themselves back into the site now? That's the problem. These positions have changed hands, and it's oftentimes a brutal retake. This round will be no different. W7M lock it down without too much of a struggle even, and immediately get themselves onto map point here with only 1 round being picked up so far by their opponents.
6-1 in favor of W7M on Oxygen's map. They can't hold a candle to this fire. Brazilian squad firing on all cylinders currently. Just another day in the office for them, it seems, John. See if they can continue on this absolute tear we've seen them on throughout this map so far. And I mean, how do things go once we get to border? I mean, I guess the good news is, you know, if we're going to speak doom and gloom, this isn't Oxygen's last series, no matter what happens. If they end up losing this, they are in the upper bracket, so they still have to transition down to the lower bracket. And we'll have to see what happens with that. I mean, we still got to see G2 tomorrow as well. There's so many games still to be played, and fortunately enough, both of these teams still kept a life on the board.
Absolutely the case. So Oxygen, count their lucky stars, that is the play status quo at this point, but not going to want to give up too easily either as they get ready to still try and shift themselves into a winnable position for this one. Maybe not on this map, but potentially on the second one.
Well, if you remember back to SI 2022, TSM lost in the upper bracket finals before they got sent to the lower bracket and came back to beat Empire. So maybe this is the beginning of the OXG story. Maybe this is where the hero has a little bit of a downfall, a little drop-off. Never know with these anime characters nowadays, Gassan. We'll have to just see. W7M, they're ready to try and take this series and take us to border, though.
W7M seemingly with full control over Theme Park here. Having Oxygen's number both on the attack as well as the defense. Now, so far, of course, only having seen 1 round of Oxygen's defense actually being played out. Maybe Throne Room just wasn't their site. The upstairs hold gives them a bit more freedom of movement and, more importantly, arguably, better rotation capability to get back into the site. Oh, that's awkward. Hurts chucks a nade right at Newers' head. It's going to bank too far because of that. But both players will end up surviving. Just a bullet or two connecting on Newers as he falls back.
Quite the awkward situation between those two. Really don't know how Newers was able to get out of it. Practically unscathed, but able to still reside in the building. Monty in plays. We heard Volps rocking around there. The metal clang of Monty's shield. They'll be able to at least get Dragon here, but they don't have any air jabs to hold up the flank, so that'll be dedicated to cameras. Get those set up now. Still plenty of time for W7M to transition through this map. It's going to be the mid-hold here for Oxygen as they're trying to make sure that there is nothing going on over on the initiation side. But as soon as I say that, they're actually going to seal up their two avenues, those two angles that they had, the one there for Office as well as for initiation, breaking right off the site. This is going to force W7M's hand. They have to get some hard breach in here, and they have to do it now.
W7M setting up for the crunch very quickly through this hard breach and through potentially trying to rotate Montaigne over through the main door. Problem is they do have the counters in the other sites. The Montaigne won't necessarily have a safe path forward, but the breach may very well be enough. Herd's already claiming an opening entry, knocks out Sweater, eliminates the Frost rotate going into break room, but they'll still establish Overwatch for that due to the rotation positions that Oxygen have set up deeper into the site. They've lost initial control, but still have quite a bit of play contention against this execute from W7M right now. So once again, smartly realizing this, W7M does not commit themselves fully to the depths of the site just yet, since they still have a little bit more time to play in. Now they've got another entry. Here's where we're probably going to see a hard commit.
W7M constantly fighting the tide here, right to the limit. They do not want to overstep their boundaries. Oxygen, they finally gotten their kill, but Herd's with 3. The Monty's found Dream. He can't try and get around him. They're trying to kill the Monty, but he's just too damn good. Volt's constantly spinning on a dime. They've gotten the kills. They know where the last 2 are. W7M with a statement on Theme Park.
Shutting things down on Oxygen's own map pick. Only a single round picked up. Aside from that, it is a perfect run. I believe a flawless 7-round streak there as well from W7M to close out the map. If things gone their way on round number 1, this realistically could have been a 7-0.
I mean, North America, you asked, excuse me, for the beast, and you got it. W7M, they've came to play today. Amazing showing there, but that doesn't mean that Oxygen is just out of it yet. Still have border, a high-flying map, so very aggressive from all fronts. So very excited to get into the second map, John.
You said Oxygen not out of it by any means. Certainly learning a few things, but a lot more to talk about. We can see their coach immediately going to work as soon as they got up from their seat. So we'll see if they can bring it back. But before we get to that, we've got to go to a short break, and we come back. We'll get you guys ready.